It's actually pretty nice. I was expecting when she said, "Oh, I'm bringing you this guitar, nobody ever used it," I figured it would be like a first act or some real piece of crap. But it's actually a perfectly serviceable guitar. I've given it the once over twice. The neck appears to be pretty straight. It's not bowed. It's not back bowed. The bridge plate is solid. The saddle looks like it's at about the right height. I took some rough measurements of the string height over the fretboard, and surprisingly that looked pretty good. I didn't do a really detailed check of that, but it looked pretty good. And I pressed down on all the strings at the first fret, and they don't seem to pull sharp, so the slots and the nut seem to be at more or less the right height. I'm going to check that again after I get a whole set of strings on there, though, because we have only 4 strings on here at the moment. First thing I'll do is I'll pull out the bridge pins here, get the strings out of here. Then I will clean her up. We'll do a basic cleaning just to get the dust off. Then I will oil the fretboard because that's pretty dry, and just oil it and then clean the oil right off. You do not marinate the neck, you just put a little on there. What else did I notice? Oh, the fret work. The frets do not seem to buzz. I did the buzz test. I played every string on every fret, and they don't rattle or buzz or anything, at least the strings that are on there, the 4 that are on there. But the tops of the frets look a little bit flat, like the guitar was leveled but never really crowned with a semicircular crowning file. And that's really what you want, is a nice crown on the frets. So while I have the strings off, I may as well do that. That's a once every 10 years job, so I'll do that. Finish up what the factory left undone. But all in all, I gotta say it's pretty nice, and once it's cleaned up and strung up, I think it'll play pretty well. So we'll look in on it at a couple of points while I work on it and see how it goes. One thing I didn't mention when I was doing the once over twice is the electronics. It has a piezo, ceramic element under that white bridge saddle, and that sends a signal to this guy, which is basically a preamp with some equalization. And it's very basic controls, but comprehensive enough. Volume control, low, mid, and high frequencies, and the slide switch there, the slide fade or whatever the hell you call it. It says AMF, which I believe probably stands for adjustable mid-range frequency, and there's a 80 cycles and 10,000 cycles is the range of motion on that. I imagine you can just change the center frequency for the mid-range control, if you want to clean up the mid-range, or if you were playing it live somewhere in a bad sounding room and you wanted to balance it better. Another nice thing it has is a tuner. I've never had a guitar with a tuner built into it, but this is nice for me here because I don't need to plug it into a tuner to check it out once the strings are on. Okay, so in order to do the work, I'm going to take the strings off. I'm going to use this little string winder. This is about the best thing you can buy for $2 or $3. It's a windy like that. It also has on this end here a very basic bridge pin puller. This thing goes under these guys, actually from the other side of course, but fits under those and helps you pull them off real nice. Now ordinarily you don't take all the strings off at once because the neck could bow, but I'll loosen them all off, then I'll unstring them here, and then I'll come down here with the other end of the tool, pry those off like that, and get all the strings out, work on the fretboard, and restring it. The right motion is to pry on the pin with the tool and to be pulling up on the string at the same time, and when you do that it comes out really easily. So I'm going to do that on the other ones. One thing I'll say, keep an eye on your bridge pins. You really should have a little box or something to collect them in. So for right now, I'll collect them in the tape roll over there, because I'm working outside. If those fall in the grass, I will find them, but it will take a while, and it will take a little swearing. It looks like it's a 15-inch radius. I'm not sure I would take that to the bank, but that's what it looks like based on this gauge. Okay, so I cleaned it and I buffed it up a little bit. Headstock was just a little dusty. Body had a couple of fingerprints. It'll get more fingerprints on it as I work on it, but I'll clean those off at the end. It's ready for me to now take care of this fretboard, which is a little dry. It's not painfully dry, but we'll just get some oil on there, since probably hasn't ever been done before, and then it'll be done for a long time. And then I will crown the frets, polish the frets, string it up, and see if there are any songs on it. Okay, so now I've oiled the board. I haven't done the entire thing. I just want to show you where my finger is. To the right of it has been oiled, and all I do is put a little on a cloth, get it on there. I don't put drops of it on there. I put a little teeny bit on a cloth, rub it in there, and then when I've done maybe that far, I dry it back off. I don't really let it sit on there too long. So I'll do these last, 6 frets or whatever. But you can see that's the appearance of the dry wood, and that's the appearance after it's been lubricated and buffed up. And that just protects the board from crud. It also helps it to not crack, and it also helps it to not absorb as much moisture from the atmosphere, so the neck doesn't swell in the hot summer months when it's humid, and it doesn't dry out too badly during the winter when it's dry inside. Okay, now everything's been oiled, and I'm in pretty good shape for doing the work on the frets. And again, when they put the frets in, they hammer them in like this, boom, 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 and then they're all slightly different heights, and if you leave them at different heights, the strings buzz. When you press it down here, it buzzes on a high fret up here, and it goes, and it makes a crappy sound, and you get frustrated and you break the guitar over a rock. So they have special files. Sometimes they use sanding blocks, sometimes they use files, and they level all the frets. But what that does is it leaves a flat top on each one of them. And what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to create a semicircular cross section to the fret with a process called crowning. And what that does is it gives the string one particular point pretty much in the center of the fret for the string to rest on when you press your finger in there. So I would have had this job done last weekend if I had been able to find my crowning file. This is the tool that will create the nice round cross section on the frets. I had misplaced this somewhere, and it's a $70 tool because it has a diamond blade on it, and I was damned if I was going to buy another $70 tool, so I just waited until I opened the right box in the right room crowded with other boxes, and I eventually found it. So here it is, and I'll be going over the frets with it. I'll be protecting the fingerboard with this little shield here that fits over the frets. I don't think that I will tape the entire fingerboard. I think I'll just add some tape to both sides of this thing and walk it down as I file each one. So here's the thing I made. This is actually a store-bought item. This is a kind of stainless steel, I believe, with a opening for the fret wire to stick up through, and this just lays on top of each fret, and then I take my file, and because this is a diamond file, it cuts in both directions, and you can just lay it over there and go back and forth until you have a nice semicircular cross section on the fret. It doesn't take a lot, and we'll just step it down for each fret until the entire board is done, and then we'll polish them up, and it should play pretty sweet. Okay, I'm not sure you can tell in this light, but you see the tops of the fret are a little bit scratchy, so those will have to be polished now that they've been crowned. One thing I did notice too is that the ends of the frets, where they're cut off and angled down like this, a couple of those are kind of sticking out. So before I polish the frets, I'm going to hit them with this. This is not the real tool that you would use. There is a particular file you can buy for doing this, but I'm going to use the coarse part of this. It's basically just a fingernail buffer. You can use something like this, and just what I'm trying to do is round off these areas where the fret is cut, the fret wire is cut at kind of a 45-degree angle. There's they're not really burrs, but I can feel little bits of sharpness there, and it'll play a lot more smoothly if those are gone. So I'll take a few minutes and do that, and then I'll go back and polish the frets, which will take several different steps with the various different grits on this padded foam block. And I let the neck settle in and just made sure nothing weird happened, and it's still pretty stable. The action's a little high, the string action at the 12th fret, so I'm going to see if I can do something about that. Maybe bring the bridge saddle down a little bit, make it more comfortable to play. Okay, so that action should be about 0.94 or so. That's 0.90 worth of gauge, so it needs to come down a bit. So I will take this guy off, shave him down, and bring the string height down. So saddle's at about 350 now, measured that way for reference. Okay, so I didn't take a ton off, but take off twice as much off the saddle as you want to bring the strings down. Strings need to come down a fair distance, but I don't want to overshoot, because once you overshoot, then you need to shim the saddle, and I don't want to get into that game. We'll try it like this. Okay, feelers are stacked up to 90. Brought the bridge saddle down by about 25 or 30, by about 20 I think actually. Still a hair high, but definitely beginner friendly. Yeah. Mosquitoes, hot and heavy. I like it. See you next time.